Good afternoon. This is the Board of County Commissioners Board Work Session. It is Thursday, June 8th, 2023. It is 3:40 p.m. This is the hybrid meeting. We're at 3000 Pacific Avenue Southeast, room 110. For public virtual attendance, you may follow along on the Thurston County YouTube channel. I'm Carolina Mejia. I'm the chair of the board. Vice Chair Ty Menser joining us via Zoom, and Commissioner Gary Edwards here to my left. Also in the boardroom, we have County Manager Ramiro Chavez, as well as Assistant County Manager Robin Campbell and Assistant County Manager Rob Gelder. And we have the budget team here today to discuss the Board of County Commissioners budget brainstorm. And passing it straight to you, Robin.
Thank you, Commissioner. Robin Campbell, Assistant County Manager, as you said, joined today by the budget team. This afternoon will be an opportunity for commissioners to give us ideas of what you would like to see when you consider the budget this fall. And I think that all three commissioners have been through this before. It's a brainstorm session, and Nicole is going to facilitate it. We'll do that for about half an hour or until you run out of ideas of things you'd like to see funded. And at that point, we'll shift and talk very briefly a quick review of the budget and fiscal principles that the board adopted in 2020, and a conversation about something we would like you to consider as we develop the budget instructions. So no decisions today, but we'll spend the bulk of the time on this brainstorm session, and Nicole's going to facilitate and I'll write on the board. So take it away.
Sure. So Nicole Martinez, Budget and Fiscal Manager. So as Assistant County Manager Robin spoke, we will be talking about what ideas and considerations you would like to have for 24 and 25 budget cycle. Robin is going to head the board over there. Inside your packet was an idea of past commissions and priorities that were listed as a reference. Some of those ideas were promoting telework, fish passage. I'm just going to name a few here: disaster contingency set aside, criminal justice reform, additional sheriff deputies. And this is the opportunity for you guys to give direction on what you would like to be the next path for the next 2 years and how you would like the county to move.
Okay. So we all received an email from Nicole to have our list ready, and let's not get into the intricacies of where our budget is right now, because I think we all know that a lot of what our list will be is just wants, and but I think we can all allow ourselves to dream for a little bit. Right.
Yeah, and I appreciate that, commissioners, and you know, this is just a brainstorming idea, not necessarily arguing the idea of any commissioner may have. That will come part of the biennial budget, and as a result of these conversations that we have practiced in the past, will bring a financial impact of those ideas, and that will give you enough information in your deliberations this fall.
So we'll just go around the room and one by one, and I'll invite you, Madam Chair, to start.
Oh.
What's one thing off your list?
Okay, so I guess I'll start with mine. It's a federal lobbyist. And these are in not any particular order for me. I'm just...
Say a little about what that might be.
Yeah, so in conversations, I just with our congressional teams, I've come to find out that we might be a little bit more competitive with the federal lobbyist, and just with the situations with ARPA that we found out about the clawback possibility, and us finding out about it a little bit later in the game, and seeing that we could possibly be applying for more grants out there, but you know, we don't have that big focus on the federal side of things. I was suggested by the congressional delegation that a federal lobbyist might be a good way for Thurston County to take that extra step and be more competitive for federal funds.
I thought we were going in reverse order and Ty got to.
Oh, yeah. Todd, Commissioner Menzer.
So I'll just piggyback on Commissioner Mejia since she brought that up. And I think this is different because a lobbyist is really about asking our legislators, our Congress to do something, budget for something or pass a law. But when I was in DC for the Puget Sound stuff, like I learned more about the bipartisan infrastructure law and the Inflation Reduction Act and what a ridiculous amount of like particular monies there are for certain projects, climate related projects, environmental projects, infrastructure. And I know we already talked about having a consultant help us access that money, but I would think that would pay huge dividends if we invested in that. I don't know where it stands. I've asked the county manager about it, but whatever that's going to cost us, I think it's going to be a good investment because there's unprecedented money that we'll probably never see again for projects that are on our lists, whether it's climate mitigation plan or the transportation plan or et cetera. So whatever monies are required to get that kind of expertise, I think we should do, because we're in that middle ground as a medium-sized county where I think we could qualify, but we don't necessarily have the capacity to know all the ins and outs. So I feel like we're the size that could like get a supersized benefit from that investment.
Thank you. So I've captured grant consultant for federal money.
Okay.
And I do have additional information when we get there that I could share that I brought back from the GFOA conference, but for now, it's great.
All right. I'll go to Commissioner Edwards.
You know, they used to call that kind of money earmarks. I don't know if they still call it earmarks or not, but yeah, well, I'm trying to be as polite as I can.
I think they found a different name.
Yeah, okay, well,
but it's the same.
Yeah,
it's hard for me to kind of be politically correct, you know that, so.
Congressionally directed spending.
Anyway, yeah, I have no problem with looking at what it would take to have someone that could work efficiently with our congressional delegation, because that's what it's really all about. You have to get those folks on your side first before you make any headway on any of these earmark activities. So I don't know how to put that exactly, but I would like, if we go this route and make an expenditure in this area, I would like to see us do some coordination with other jurisdictions if possible. And the reason I say that is most earmark activity, when you come to smaller jurisdictions like ours, it always sells better if it's a regional concept. And, you know, I'll just use the meat processing as an example. You know, that type of thing.
The replacement of the Nisqually Bridge.
Yes,
Yeah, really.
Bringing the bridge up to the speed that it needs to, you know, their speed, to the size and design that it needs, not only to handle our needs here from an economic development standpoint, but our Department of Defense that we really depend on, you know, for our economy. So I guess we're kind of all on the same sheet of music in that regard. I do have, I mean, I'd throw in that I am very concerned with what and how we're going to deal with the shortfall in the prosecutor's office for dealing with retention of the new material that cameras are going to bring with them. And how we can partner or help. You know, there's always a conflict between defense and prosecution, but I think there can be a firewall in there somewhere to try and be as efficient as we can with the tax dollars and still get something accomplished to solve that problem. And I think it's just a necessity that we're gonna have to bite the bullet and deal with. So I'm hoping that we can do some consolidation and possibly even utilizing the prosecutor's public records portion of the division that oversees those public records requests. If somehow couldn't tie it in a little bit together, because it's all gonna be a lot of technology and recovery of material. So let's see if we can barnstorm a little bit and think outside the box and maybe come up with a solution for that problem. I could go on for quite a while, but I want to share it with you.
Okay, so kind of with the federal lobbyist, and I'm not sure how this would fit with the grant consultant for federal money, but I was also, for me, right, when I was brainstorming on how to make a formidable, if we're gonna do federal lobbyist who's gonna let us know about grant availabilities or help us make our grant application stronger. I was also thinking, and in talking with different departments, having a grants writer under the budget team or the finance team to assist departments in this. Not sure how that would fit with the grant consultant. I'm willing to look at different things, but for me, my whole goal is how can we make ourselves more competitive? And as Commissioner Menser stated, you know, as we're a middle-sized county, we would qualify for a lot of these things. How do we get ourselves to that next step and actually start accessing? And so
I think there's a difference between a grants writer and the grant manager.
Big difference.
Commissioner Menser?
Okay, so next on my list would be, we don't know what this price tag is, but boy, I'd sure like to be able to see this Summit Lake issue to conclusion and not let DNR get away with endangering the community and properties and the lake water quality. So I know the price tag was more than we thought in terms of all the appraisals and stuff, but that's something that I would prioritize because I think it's just a direct function of local government is what we can do to help people and, you know, a drinking water source, whether it's environmental, whether it's property rights related, whatever you want. I mean, there's several different angles that come into play that make I think it a pretty important thing to get resolved in a favorable way for that community.
A little update on that, commissioners. I work with the attorneys and send it back a counter proposal. And so we're waiting for them to respond to the counter proposal in terms of the fees they submitted. So yeah, we'll be ready to have that number when you have this conversation.
Thank you.
Would I characterize this as the Summit Lake timber
Land transfer.
land transfer? Thank you.
Commissioner Edwards, did you want to?
I guess I'll piggyback on Commissioner Menser's lake issue, although that's a different lake issue because it's mainly drinking water when it comes in, and then maybe the damage from landslides or something, which is unique to Summit Lake, but we are concerned about water quality. I would really like to see us contribute more towards overall lake betterment, I guess is the best way I'll put it. I'd like to see us solve our problem with lake management districts and participate more in solving the lake water issue. And if you want to see the lake water issue, I'd say go to any one of the lowland lakes, and Summit Lake is not one of those. And Lake St. Clair is not one of those. Those two happen to be deep lakes in Thurston County, but the other lakes about August are pretty green, a lot of algae buildup. There's a lot of different reasons for that. The lakes communities that have created a lake management district, I think we ought to at least be matching the funding they put forward. We had a discussion in here yesterday about is it fair to have the taxpayers paying towards clean lakes, the clean lakes issue. And I used the analogy of our county, our parks are all paid for by the total population, and they are not all used by the total population, but those that want to use them, they're there to use. And I think they're a plus for our community. I think lakes fall in exactly that same category. The difference is if you live on a lake, you're paying about twice as much in property tax plus your lake management district fee that is self-assessed. And yes, you're getting a ground, what do you refer to that?
Stormwater fee.
Stormwater fee reduction. Well, that's about a $35 per year benefit. And your exceptional taxes that you pay are way more excessive. Your lake management district fee could easily be $500, and your property taxes could easily be over $5,000. So a $35 benefit, yes, it's beneficial, but it's certainly not going to solve anybody's problems. And I kind of hang my hat, if you will, on the fact that there's not a lot of difference between recreation on the lakes for those that want to go there, go swimming, fishing, goofing off, whatever, water skiing, whatever they want to do, or going to the park and swinging on the swing. So that's my argument there. I'd much, I think it's very important that we expend the general fund resources that are contributed by everybody to this fund to help us really do something substantial with lakes.
Right.
Robin, what Commissioner was specifically asked to match the contributions from the Lake Management District with general fund, so in terms of the dollars.
That would be the dollar amount.
Yeah, the dollar amount.
If we had to stick a dollar, I mean, we have to start somewhere.
To match in kind, that's his
So
request.
if one of the lakes raises $100,000 through their LMD, let's match that.
I just want to clarify your request.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what I'm asking for. So I don't know those budgetary amounts, but
No, we'll,
they're in there somewhere.
we'll bring those.
So,
I mean,
so this is a two-part thing, right? There's the overall lake water quality throughout the county, and then there's match money for the LMDs.
Well, that's gonna be one and the same when you come right down to it. The lakes, we need to clean up the water in the lakes. Cause we're working, like we had a briefing yesterday on the tri-lakes, for an example. We're doing a lot of work right now about nitrates and different things like that in the groundwater. This is the lakes themselves.
Right.
To get them cleaned up and usable and user-friendly. So I can't tell you what the dollar amount is that the different lakes bring in.
We're not looking for a dollar amount right now, just the concept, and then
Yeah.
we'll cost it
bring
out
that.
and bring a proposal.
Yeah.
So my next item is legislative director, legislative program manager, not exactly the correct title, but serving in LSC, one of the needs that I've seen with Thurston County is that coordination with
program manager.
with different departments or offices on kind of what's going on in the legislature and what is affecting, right? There's like so many things and, you know, there were sometimes things in LSC where I was like, you know, we're gonna be voting on this thing for public works and it's like, well, I don't know how to vote on this because I don't, you know, I haven't even talked to my own department. So it was hard sometimes to kind of grasp that, the impact that it would have specifically on Thurston County and seeing how it's hard for different department and offices to be able to track all the different legislative bills that are happening and then have that same coordination with Deborah, right? So I would want this position to work in coordination with Deborah, who's doing our, you know, our lobbying, but this person would kind of help either put legislative bills out there, and better track what's out there and what the impact is going to be and help us be more proactive in that sense.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
is that towards like roads and things like that, roads, bridges, and I'm just curious, is it general fund and road fund is what your complete package, or you mentioned public works that you.
As an
So
example.
we would,
That was just an
we
example.
would allocate it across all county funds because it would be looking at all
Everything.
legislation
So
that
it
impacts the
will
county.
be Blake, law and justice. I think that's what Madam Chair
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
in the argument. Yes, comprehensively across the county.
Someone that would just help us be more pragmatic when it came to.
Commissioner Menzer?
My turn? Okay, well, Commissioner Edwards covered the body cam software issue, and so next I have just the I mean, it kind of goes without saying, but I'd like to be able to make appropriate adjustments based on the class and comp study for employees. I wasn't at the formal briefing, but the county manager kind of brought me up to speed, and based on what I was hearing, I think there's expenditures that could be made that would make a positive benefit for our class and classifications and compensation scales. So that would be a priority if there's money.
You're up.
I would like to see the sheriff's office get well past the bottom of the list on number of deputy sheriffs per population served. Right now, we're at about 39 or 38, or I think it all depends on who's going through budget cycles and shortfalls, but we're pretty low on the list for being in the capital county of this state. I think we should be at least in the upper half, or at least halfway there, you know, to show the flag or something, I guess.
I thought we were going to let the voters decide on that in November.
Well, that might be, but we haven't heard any more about that.
I'm working on that.
Oh.
I'm working on that.
And that might be the answer to that.
I'm working on that resolution. Hopefully I will have something in place, ready to review next week. And I will start circulating. There's a couple nuances. The board needs to be having a discussion on that. And hopefully I can have a discussion with the board prior to the summer recess. And then my expectation in terms of the schedule is for you to take an action in approving that resolution on the first meeting after you come back from the summer recess. And that will give us enough time to file to the auditors for the November ballot.
How does that fit in with the other jurisdictions, with coordinating that with the other jurisdictions?
So the other jurisdictions, they just benefited from this action. Because as we receive some money from as public safety tax, for instance, the Olympia has passed. If the county approves this public safety tax, they will get a share. That's stated on state law.
Right, but we got to make sure they're all buying in, you know, as many people as possible.
Yeah,
as many jurisdictions.
Yeah, I have been working with, you know, the cities But I think after the board approves and puts it into the auditor's office, that's when the job of the commissioners will be and coordinated with the elected officials for support.
I'm not sure I agree with that. I think it's never too early to plant the seed. That's kind of where I'm at.
And we have planted the seed.
And if
with
there's
the-
resistance, need to know about it ahead of time.
I think I've had some passing conversations, and yeah, the seed's been planted. It's just that I think each one of the larger cities may want to use the resources differently than the county would.
And
of course they would.
and that my understanding is they can. They have the flexibility. They can do whatever. I think there is a small requirement. I think a third of their distribution has to be for public safety.
Right.
And then the rest is up to their latitude.
Right.
So they have the
So
flexibility.
the cities are bound by state law, and the law defines public safety very broadly. And then 2/3 for any governmental purpose, but the county will be restricted by what's in the ballot measure.
Okay, good enough, thank you.
But we'll probably bring this item next Friday.
Yeah, mayor's, meeting is it this week?
Yeah, I think it's tomorrow.
I know there's like two.
I think the mayor's meeting and yourself is tomorrow, and with administrators is next Friday.
Okay.
Well, while you look,
Yeah, I will bring this up tomorrow then.
I was gonna add one more thing quick, just a real simple thing. I think the fair can always use some assistance. So we try to put on a great community fair, utilize that property properly. So what that is, I can't exactly tell you that, but the fair is part of our community, and I think the volunteers out at the fair do a heck of a job and a lot of work. So I think we ought to try to help.
For me, my next is a second internal auditor.
I see some jurisdictions have brought some actions on this ARPA rental stuff. There was something on the news last night up north. Haven't heard anything lately, have you? That you can talk about?
No, on the rental assistance. We had a meeting with the sheriff and the prosecutor's office, Mary, myself, and we continued to conversation on the smaller cases. The larger one continues to take its course.
Okay.
Commissioner Minzer?
I really don't have too much else. I know that the Country Club Road Bridge project, I'm sure that something will come up where some piece of it's more expensive than we thought, and we've got a deadline from ecology, so that would be a priority for me. But I mean, I think we've got things in hand at the moment, but I just feel like, as I said the other day, I just feel like there's always things that come up that we don't expect, and so I'm trying to be pretty restrained this year in what I think about in terms of adding new expenditures. So that's about it for my list.
This is a wish list.
I know,
Commissioner,
but
in a dream world.
I know. I'm dreaming of a Summit Lake with clear, drinkable water.
With that,
Yeah.
I don't know, is that a conservation funds? Could that be?
Conservation futures?
Conservation futures, yes,
For
Oh.
for the Summit
We can
Lake.
certainly talk about that. That may be absolutely a viable option. Conservation futures fund. We'll have to look and see how much is in it.
capacity.
You wanna know?
You wanna know what's in the Conservation Futures Fund? Have you got that handy?
That's the,
I just
the cash
happen to have
balance,
that handy.
the cash balance report.
That's cash
Oh,
balance
you've got
report.
the cash balance report handy. That's not fund balance.
That's not fund balance.
In that particular fund, it's not?
No, it's,
Not in any
no,
fund.
it's, the fund balance is different than the cash. This is what we
Sure.
received the cash to the year, just this year.
Oh, okay. Well, this one says
But how
there's,
much
it
cash
says
is
9
there?
million, it says $9 million.
9 million. A lot of that's committed. But it's,
Okay.
Go for land, right? We gotta buy go for land. with
That too, and there is a line item for that as well that only has not too much in it. If I remember right, about 30,000 or something. Yeah. Okay.
I'm glad you're looking at the reports, Commissioner.
I study them. What do you mean I have a headache? You know what I had to deal with this morning was, what do you call it, GASPA thing?
Gas
There was
fee,
about
87.
7 different GASPA regulation things on that insurance fund and the way they did their
Yeah,
bookkeeping.
yeah.
And they give me a headache.
Yeah, the gas fee rules, yeah. Yeah,
And some of them were GASPA 87 too.
yeah, there you go.
Glad you're building up that expertise, Commissioner Edwards. We appreciate that.
We'll be on our fiscal subcommittee.
Oh, no. I don't know about that. I didn't get past general math.
Okay,
Do you have anything else you'd like to add, Liz?
Oh, you know, I know we're having fun with this, but I have a real concern. I don't know how that's gonna fit here, is what's going on up at our old building space. It's not our old, at the courthouse. And how we're gonna address that as well as we can, because we don't have quite enough resources to do the job we thought we would do. I'm kind of concerned about what's taking place on the perimeter. I would encourage everybody to drive up and take a look at the parking lot there next to the
Yeah,
Red Lion.
we're taking, an action on that.
Right, good. Because it's not a very friendly place for some of our staff.
We already have a plan.
Okay, good.
Hopefully we can implement the plan here shortly.
so what would be the courthouse what?
Well, that just the funding on how we're going to do that project, and I don't know if if we can
Is there-
assign a dollar, we're gonna be short $10 million, I don't know.
You know,
37 million?
That's it. Well, give me a headache.
we have the bond, which is the
Yes,
15
but
million.
that's not adequate, I'm told.
Well,
It's adequate to get us through the project in front of you and create more space for the people who need it.
whether we
it's-
can do everything, perhaps not.
Right. And it's not a strip it down to the studs and totally rebuild those buildings.
We,
It's not that.
I don't believe we prioritized the roof, and that's the big thing for me is the roof.
Concerned
Because
about the roof.
if you don't have a roof, you don't have a building in the end, so.
So that will be their request, and it's, how much will cost to replace the roof.
Certainly gonna look at that piece specifically.
You know what, as we move forward, rest of us are all old hat in here. I'd like to hear Rob's come up with any ideas about, that you see some
Commissioner, it's
shortfall.
not my wishes.
No, we're in the forest. Sometimes you can't see the forest for the trees.
Mhm.
You've kind of come in from the outside. You have kind of a fresh view of,
Well, I have to say, we never did this
Yeah.
exercise, which is kind of a fun
yeah,
thing to dream,
yeah.
right?
Let's lighten up life, huh?
You lighten it up because then reality will come crashing down.
Oh, yeah.
There was one thing that popped up because they're having a conversation with housing and homelessness and sort of potentially stipends for committee or board or commission members, and to try to eliminate barriers to participation, et cetera. The question there is that whether or not a fund supports it, but we have so many that are potentially general fund backed. And is there any thought around that as a potential resource? It
Stipends.
supports
That's great.
supports DEI efforts as well as.
The only stipend that we have is to the
BOE,
the Board of Equalization.
and it's required by state law.
Didn't we pass a provision in for our racial equity council?
No, there was a specific that it does not include stipends.
So it's on the board. So commissioners, do any of the commissioners have any additional?
Oh, yeah, like I can.
I mean, we could
Yeah,
probably
no,
keep,
and
we
at
can burn
the
up
end,
all the time
Once
and
the,
get there, but.
once the board members are done, then Romero and Rob and I can put a few items up there.
I guess, have one more, because some of the ones that have been mentioned by other commissioners as well. So I guess the last one that I'll add would be, homeless court. And then I won't take any more space.
Romero?
Commissioner Mentor, are you done, sir? Sorry,
I'm sorry, what was the question?
I just said, are you done with your wish list?
I think so, yeah.
How about you, Commissioner Edwards?
I'm done, but I'm sure we'll have more discussions and other things.
Oh, yeah, this is just, again, very high level.
It is, and these are all things that we'll develop a proposal around so that they're in your budget this fall. There's absolutely no decisions and no guarantee that they'll make it into the budget, as you all know. But it gives you an opportunity to weigh the things that are important to you, as well as everything that the offices and departments bring in. All right. So all the commissioners are done. Romero?
I would like to probably consider a professional development across the county for all employees, not just for the few that perhaps they have the means within the department.
So what is professional development? Is it more trainings? Is it?
Training, certifications, and we're just talking with Nicole about she's going through the program management training and perhaps leading to a program management certification. But I think if we have a countywide program that really allows staff to access that program, professional development that leads to a certification, that is the case. I think it's investing in the employees is what I'm looking for.
Ideas, Rob?
Well, I put out the one that I heard.
Okay.
My assumption was it was board brainstorming. I didn't really think about it.
It's all right. I'd like to add, one of the priorities from my perspective is ensuring sufficient financial staffing across the county. Because you've addressed that now in public health, but we need to ensure that all county offices and departments have sufficient financial support for all of the things we do.
Did we get that right in public health and that's been successful or headed towards success?
We have the internal audit coming out very soon, but it is.
We got it.
Yeah, you got a copy of the report.
Yeah,
But it says pretty much that, yeah.
which that's a commissioner's item that I need to talk to you about. That I want to bring up tomorrow.
So Robin, on time, we're at 4:19, or basically halfway through. So if you wanted to switch gears or stay on this.
As we move through this, can we just have a little bit of an idea of what's really left so we can be thinking about prioritizing? Where are we at? We're midway through, got an economy that's maybe not doing as good as it should.
A budget update?
No, maybe not an update, but kind of
Get a sense.
Yeah, get a sense of what's gonna be available, you know, as we wind down.
So when we close June, basically, we'll update the forecast at the end of July, and we have a planning session at the end of July. And that will
Yeah,
be
we'll
the
cover that.
ideal time to give you a, here's at the halfway point, and we will be starting at that point to get a better forecast than my current,
Okay.
you know, thumb in the wind thing.
One thing I would like when we do the balancing act survey that goes out to the public, which is, I think it's gonna be a great tool to really see, you know, kind of where the community is at, or just to get a grasp, right? Another way of receiving public input, but I would also like to send that out to county employees, directly and invite them to fill out, you know, what they feel are the
It's a priority.
priorities as well too, because, you know, they're the ones usually the forefront of things, and it would be great to kind of receive their input on the budget too.
Great. So I'm gonna add one more item before.
I have one more too when we cover that.
Okay, so my next item is, addressing the maintenance needs that are connected to, IT and infrastructure projects.
The ongoing maintenance,
Yes.
right? Yeah.
I don't know that I understand that. I mean, what what's the connection between IT and infrastructure?
There's not, but both of them result in ongoing costs. That's the connection. So an IT project, if we're putting, I'm gonna use the ERP as an example. We're putting the ERP in place. It has much more, well, there's a lot more technology work involved in maintaining it on a regular basis than we ever had with Munis, Eden, and Questica. So what you'll see in the budget is a need for an FTE to support the system, or more, one or more FTEs to support the system once we put it in place. And that's true of many of the IT projects. It's also true of many of our infrastructure projects. And it's not just county infrastructure like the courthouse renovation. It's road projects require ongoing maintenance. Any park projects that the board may consider require ongoing maintenance. It's taking into consideration, as the board looks at projects, you also look at ongoing cost of maintaining those projects.
Thank you for that. Yeah, that's.
You know, one other quick thing, this is really quick, is satellite cell phones or satellite phones. I don't know exactly what they're referred to, but I think we could even get some money out of FEMA to do something like that, because our whole system, if it ever goes down, if we have the
Emergency communication.
yes,
radios, okay, got
emergency
it.
communication, because our towers might go down, the cell
see what you're saying.
towers might go down. Satellites more than likely are not gonna be affected, and we could have some emergency communication capability outside of the area and even internally within the area. And they're kind of expensive, and we'd wanna have them assigned, you know, some in the sheriff's office or public works, a few different places. It could, I could see us spending $50,000 and have a minimal amount of those pieces of equipment available.
There's a product out there that trying to remember the name of.
Is it? Okay.
That connects your phone to
A satellite thing?
satellite.
Yeah, whatever it takes. Something was,
I'll try to remember that.
I went through, because we went through the earthquake, I think it was in '96, knocked everything out. And we depended on the ham radio folks for a while. But even some of their equipment was damaged, so just in for dreaming.
I'd really like to address the PIO context with the new makeup of the 5 commissioners. Whether that is related to the future of TC Media or not, but in either case, that needs to be addressed. I know we have 2 great PIOs, but the need for communications are going to be increasing, not just the number of commissioners, but it's just the outreach to the public.
Yeah, no, I agree. That's great.
All right. So just to read the list back, we've got the federal lobbyist, a grant consultant for federal money, the PIO and public defense video retention needs, a grant writer in the budget office, the Summit Lake land transfer, the overall lake quality or the water quality in the lakes, and match dollar for the LMDs, legislative program manager who would coordinate with our current county liaison, fund the comp and class study, in the sheriff's office, increase the ratio of officers per population, considering revenue for the public safety sales tax as a way to do that, additional support for the county fair, a second internal auditor, the courthouse renovations and maintenance, to take a look at what we need there is specifically about the roof on all those buildings, stipends for advisory committees, a homeless court, professional development for county employees, address countywide financial staffing levels, ongoing maintenance resulting from IT and infrastructure projects, emergency communication, and the PIO capacity. So that's a pretty good list. And what we'll do next is Romero and I will assign these to departments and offices and work with them to develop these into proposals that you'll see this fall. All right. So to wrap up the hour, we're going to take a quick look, and Commissioner Menser, I'm sorry. I wonder if I can email this to you.
Do we have that online? You can share your screen. Okay.
And hand this to you, Romero, you can pass it around. If you got it. No, it's a resolution. I'll send it to you.
Could we scan this and send it to Commissioner Menser? Is that a possibility?
If it's the budget resolution, I'm familiar with it, so you can go through it.
Right.
Carly is scanning it and sending it to you too right now.
So just to take a quick wander down memory lane, I guess. Commissioners adopted this policy in 2020, and it set the budget and fiscal principles for the county. And I'm just going to quickly read through the 13 principles, not word for word, but capture their essence. The The Board of County Commissioners set a goal to have a 2-month ending fund balance by 2023, and we've achieved that. Capital budgets will be aligned with the capital improvement plans. We've achieved that. Beginning in 21, the county will use a process to evaluate outcome measures and effects of alternative service levels. We're still working on that. So we missed the 2021 goal, but I came back from the conference with a new idea about how to kickstart that. The county office and departments will allocate available resources consistent with strategic plans. And while our strategic plan is not current, we continue to align budget with we align the budget with
Could I ask a question?
the
Clarification.
plan that we have in place.
You
Yes, sir.
said the strategic plan is not current, not, what term?
Is not up to date.
Yeah, but what, is there something that says that you need it redone every 2 years, every 7 years, every 10 years?
Well,
What, you're using a term that people could misconstrue possibly. So I'm curious, because that was put in place in 18, was it?
Yeah, 2018.
It was in a time period, I think,
So
not a
it's-
strategic plan, it was through 2020.
That would have only been good for 2 years.
Well, that,
No.
the strategic plan, the intent of that was to, at the end of, in 2021, to revisit some of the strategies and update any strategies that may need be.
Okay, I guess I'm gonna repeat what I've heard from the board, myself included, that we didn't think we were making all those decisions based on strategic plan number 7 or number 11 or whatever. So before we start scheduling an update of that, I think we better have a discussion.
We've
That's all
not
I'm saying.
scheduled an update of it.
No,
Commissioner. All
well,
I'm
then,
saying
but
is
I'm not sure that's the right term. We have a strategic plan, and I feel it's adequate myself, but not outdated or not, whatever term you used. I can't remember that, but yeah, there was something there. I can read between the lines.
It's not current.
Not current. Okay, well,
Commissioner Menzer, did you have a comment, sir?
I pretty much agree with everything Commissioner Edwards said. I was gonna make the same comment. I didn't know a strategic plan had an expiration date. I thought it would be updated when we felt like the strategic direction needed a change. I don't think the board has felt that, so I would also object to saying that the strategic plan is out of date or not current.
Fair enough.
Thank you for your perspective. You're the ones that get to decide that. So we have a strategic plan, and when we put budget proposals before you, we tie them to the plan that we have. Item number 6 on this list is that we would create and maintain a reserve for the general fund, and that has been accomplished. It currently has a balance of $4 million. And there's a cap on it at 5 million, so one more good year and it will be at its maximum amount. Item number 7 says that we will align the programs with their respective funding sources. And we have a way to do that in the new system that we've never had before. So when the ERP is enacted, we will be presenting you with the way to get to this information in the system. In number 8, your principle here is to ensure that expenditures are for the purposes in funds, that the funds are committed to, and that we maintain fund balances that are sufficient to meet ongoing obligations. Number 9 is that all functions that can be supported by fees are, to the extent possible, supported by those fees in enterprise funds. Number 10 is that the Board of County Commissioners will monitor office and department budgets through the FMC and your county budget team. We do that. And number 11 is that we will strive to maintain our bond rating of AA or higher. We've got a AA+ bond rating. Thurston County will avoid using one-time revenue for ongoing costs. We often have that conversation. And finally, the county will ensure that there's a comprehensive countywide financial system that is used countywide. And we have that ERP project in place right now to ensure that we meet that principle. So overall, we're doing very, very well in aligning our financial practices with these principles that the board has put in place. I bring those up now to give you an opportunity to think about them. And as we write the budget instructions, if you want to make any changes to this, please, we'll have that conversation as we go. So no decisions right now, but if there's changes to this resolution, we want to give you the opportunity to change that. Finally, this afternoon, there is something for the budget instructions that I'm going to throw out. It's an idea. Again, no decisions today, but I would want a decision on it very soon because we're working on the budget instructions now. And that is, we know that the current financial position, our fund balance today is very robust, but the financial plan for the future is how to spend that down and hit an equilibrium so that we're maintaining the two-month fund balance in the general fund. Toward that goal, I would suggest to you a directive to offices and departments that when they put in a policy level budget request, that they also put in an offsetting request so that any office or department submits policy requests that net to 0. So for any add, they would also submit a subtract. So do you have questions about what that means?
Well, I mean, you could go into a quick explanation of what you think it means.
I know exactly
Yeah,
what I think
we had differences of opinions just a few minutes ago.
So I think the concept behind that is the department is going to bring those policy level requests, and they're going to make the argument that's the highest priority. They like the board to consider funding. So within that concept, is there any low priority they have within their systems that can supplement and have a net 0 impact?
Okay, I guess I differentiate myself between elected positions and department heads. That's my difference. I'm very hesitant to tell elected officials how to conduct their business. So
it's not telling them how to conduct their business. It's how you want to consider their budget.
I know.
It's how I feel like we're putting the standard of they need to prioritize their budgets, right? And if this is a need for them, like at the end of the day, they might be, I have a different point of view. For me, it's like, while they are electeds and they, control their, their offices, at the end of the day, that responsibility for us on the impact of the general fund is still there. And we are the ones funding it. So I think this is a proposal where if they're like, I have this really high priority and, this, haven't been able to fill this position or something else like that, this program isn't really, and we're willing to kind of let that go. If there's that give and take, I think it gives, it also gives them the option of being like, okay, you know, it gives them another option, I feel like, as well, of possibly getting their request more likely to be approved if there's not gonna be an impact to the general fund. So I think it's just an option.
And those are the options to you.
Yeah.
When you make those difficult decisions in the budget process.
That's right. And the board doesn't necessarily have to enact it that way. You could certainly add, for example, if someone were to ask for one FTE and put on the table a different FTE to take away, the board could approve the FTE that's the ask and not take away the other FTE.
It's just providing you options
It gives you options.
Commissioner Menser?
Great idea. Brilliant. Thank you, Robin.
I think it is a really good idea. I like that option.
Okay.
It's the world that I've lived in. Maybe
I have no problem with it.
For offices and departments.
Yeah, well, I mean, we can explain that, but I'm hesitant I'm just putting that out, that I'm hesitant to tell elected offices how to do their business, you know, but we can certainly give them guidance.
Yeah.
And if they're gonna ask for money, yeah, no.
And I've been, every office and department, especially the offices that I've been meeting with, I've been letting them know that our general fund is, the realistic view is, it's not great. And I've been letting them know the impacts of it. And, you know, we just had the big hit with the coroner's office. I'm pretty sure there's gonna be another budget amendment in December coming through where he's going to be, you know, and so I'm letting everyone know, and I'm gonna be like, I've been very honest, and that the situation is not looking great for policy, for new policy requests.
Under the general fund.
Under the general fund. So, and I think Commissioner Menser laid it out pretty clearly on Tuesday as we were discussing the request from the PAO and public defense about that. If we grant this, like this, that's it. Like it's just the capacity. So, I think it will also put them in the situation to think about, you know, this really is a need, you know.
How important is this?
Yeah, historically, I've always, I think the term of art that we used was a status quo budget, which meant that you're basically bringing forward something that took into account all the inflationary costs that were going to be, whether it's collective bargaining agreements, you know, increases in your indirect costs, et cetera. That was all considered status quo because they're outside of your control.
Right.
But encouraging the ability to sort of take a step back and look at how you could potentially reorganize and encourage those reorganizations to support your mission or your office.
Might have to quit responding to burglar alarms.
I think we've heard that, yeah.
So, Robin,
All right.
you got, I think, support from the board to include that.
So we'll draft the instructions to include that. Excellent. Thank you. All right, so that's what we had for you today.
Thank you, Robin. Thank you, budget team. Again, this is our wish list, and will also be under those same considerations that Robin has laid out. So.
That's right. It'll be a balancing act.
Okay, it is 4:43. We are adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.